think one of the biggest things that holds us back is this idea of perfectionism, of an A plus is what we're going after, and every little grammatical error or every little misspell is something that detracts from what we have to offer, or is something that makes what we have to offer not worthwhile, that we have to get it perfect and get our message completely clear before we can justify sharing it. And I think there's a real value to accepting that the evolution of where you take your words and where you take what you have to say is just as valuable as what you have to say. When we can witness how you go from a place of not really knowing how to articulate what it is you're talking about to a place of being able to just put it out there so beautifully and so powerfully that we can totally feel your passion behind it and resonate with it, then we can learn how to do that ourselves as well. We can learn from your example. We can learn from your willingness to put yourself out there when you were rough around the edges and raw, and then we can watch who you refine yourself into. And so moving past perfectionism is something that the class is really going to be centered around, and just letting yourself be, letting yourself accept where you are, and just say what you have to say. And when you can make peace with the process of improving, to make peace with the idea that the only way to get to perfect is to put forth what you have right now and then improve upon it, and then put forth what your improved upon message is and then improve upon that. And when you can free yourself from constantly editing, from trying to make perfect before taking the steps on the way to really finding your message, then you can start sharing and stop fine-tuning. There's an excellent story that I heard told about this by Seth Godin, who's a famous marketing guru and author. And he told the story about how when they first started making what was going to be the original sequel to Duke Nukem, they wanted to create, it's a video game, they wanted to create the best video game ever, and they had a few people working on it, and they were passionate about it, and they moved the project along, and it was going great, and they got about 80% done, and then to finalize it, they expanded the team to something like 30 people, and then everybody came in with their new ideas, and so the idea of the product, of what they were putting out, got bigger. And so before they could put it out, they had to catch up to the new bigness of that idea. And so they kind of went back to the drawing board in a way. And then they came around and they got close to finished again, and the same thing happened. And finally, 9 years later, they canceled the project. And they got to beyond 80%, close to completion with it 3 different times. And the reason why they weren't allowed to go through, that they never got a product out, that they never expressed this game that they were creating, was because they were focused on perfection, on being the best ever, on doing the best, rather than on expressing themselves. I've been examining the difference between saying what you mean and meaning what you say. And saying what you mean is a whole lot more powerful than trying to focus on meaning what you say. Because in saying what you mean, the verb is saying. That's what you're focused on. You're focused on getting it out there, on sharing yourself, on expressing yourself. And when you have to mean what you say, meaning what you say, the verb is meaning. And then you have to think not only about what you're saying, but how everyone else might interpret it. It just takes the focus off where your power is, where your voice is, and your actual ability to speak, and puts the power in what people might think about what you have to say. And it really diffuses your power and makes your ability to share what you have to say diluted. And so to just being able to focus on what you have to say, on not editing, on making a commitment to sharing yourself fully in a safe way. Doesn't mean you have to share yourself fully right away. It doesn't mean that you have to, the minute you think of something, say it in that very moment. But it's just an understanding that if you have something to say, you're not going to suppress it. You're going to find a way to say it eventually. And you're not going to put it off until you can say it perfectly. You're going to put it off until you can say it safely. And that is the freedom from editing, the freedom from filtering ourselves that I'm trying to extend and offer to the world and model and live and reap the benefits of myself.